Good morning, everyone. The time is now 10 a.m. on the nose. Welcome to another Family and Provider Information Committee. I'm Christopher D. Wright. As to remind everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Before we proceed in introducing our co-chairs, need to remind everyone the housekeeping rules and be very cautious. As you're aware, we have a hearing hackers coming into not just on Zoom, but Ring Central, WebEx. We remind you to please be very careful with your systems. And I remind you, as some of you do put your names onto the chat, your names not just on the chat, but on the main computer. We thank you, but we do remind you all when you do attend a meeting, we are reminding you all to please keep your microphones muted. If you have a question, we have a hand raised. The only people should be interrupting at this time should be the co-chairs, Rose Sal and Deborah Greif, or me, Chris Greif, the vice chair of the DD Council. Anyone else should be using the hand raise or the chat box. Also remind you to please be very careful with any questions or comments you say. It is recorded always, and as well as word recording. We remind you all to please be very careful and be
Chris, it sounds like you just lost your connection.
He froze.
All right. So I will
Rose.
proceed.
He froze. It's Debbie. I don't know what's going on.
I know that's fine. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you perfectly.
Okay, great.
And because I know he is here. I don't know what's where they're doing work in the area too, so it's been affecting the internet connections.
All right, that's fine. We can proceed.
We'll just proceed.
Yeah.
He'll get back. Wait. Oh, this is what he's doing. He's also he's sharing the screen. So let me introduce myself to everyone while Chris is doing that, and then I'll introduce you. Good morning, everybody. In case you don't know, I'm Deborah Greif. I'm the parent co-chair for the Provider and Information Committee. We are a committee that works together. It's a subcommittee for the Brooklyn Developmental Disabilities Advisory Council. And my co-chair is Ms. Rose Saul. She is the professional chair. And our role is to make sure that everybody, we especially would like to see, we love when care coordinators come, anybody from an agency, as well as parents, family members, elected officials, their staff, so we can let them know what is going on in our system. And also we're trying to make sure our care coordinators get all the information and help they need. Without any further ado, let me introduce my co-chair, Ms. Rose Sauls. Rose?
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to the Family and Provider Information Committee. A lot of you on the call has been, in this subcommittee. This is a subdivision of the Brooklyn DD Council Committee, like as Debbie had mentioned. We want to make sure that we are sharing information to families as well as to provider. Whenever any changes is happening in the field, as we become aware of the information, we'd like to pass that on to all of our families and providers. So that's why it's important for more providers and more families to be on this call, because this is how you get the information. So if you know someone, or if families sometimes reach out to care managers and they have questions, please encourage them to come to the meeting. We want to make sure that we can share this information to everyone. We don't want to see all the same people all the time. I know Chris has done a wonderful job sharing and also posting the schedule, letting people know when this meeting is happening, so people have the information and know when we are on. So please, if you know of any agency that is not there, or you are in contact with and they have questions regarding certain topics, please encourage them to reach out to myself or Debbie or Chris, and we'll make sure that we get speakers to come in and talk and provide information on the topics that you guys would like to hear. Thank you all. Chris, I don't know if you is your mic on now. I'm going to proceed with the meeting.
We do have Rose. I do know our speaker is here,
Yes, I
but
know.
and we just have to make sure that she can share her information. She can share the
Oh my
screen with
God,
Chris.
guys, you don't hear anything.
What? Hi, we can hear you now, Chris.
Yeah, I'm changing the PowerPoint right now, as Rose is supposed to introduce the speaker.
I know. We're ready.
Okay,
We're ready.
great.
Yeah,
I'm glad
Rose,
we
can
could
you
hear you better,
introduce the
Chris.
speaker?
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
So today is a very important topic, and I hope you're all going to get a lot out of it today. I would like to introduce Irene Paganis from Care Design. She's the benefit and entitlement at Care Design, and she did a wonderful job in putting a PowerPoint presentation for us to talk about Medicaid.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Irene. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm changing it right now. It's just that someone can't. Wait a minute. How many people are speaking? I know Arlene, you're speaking, so let's. I know we're going to introduce her. Let me just get her PowerPoint. But I have to remind everyone who just came in, please mute your microphone unless you're not speaking. We do need to have courtesy because I just caught someone with their microphone on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Chris, we could hear you.
Okay, I'm making sure because you guys got quiet. It scared me. I'm trying to share the screen. Just a second. I'm just putting on the other piece. Here we go. There we go. Again, I apologize, but at the same time, we are experiencing Wi-Fi going in and out, but now it's back online, so we're better in shape. You do see the screen here. I have to put it into PowerPoint mode, so I'm doing that right now. I mean, slideshow, sorry. It's all yours.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm Irene Pagonis. I am from Care Design, and I am part of the benefits and entitlements team at Care Design. So we offer support to care managers and families for any benefits and entitlement related issue. And today I'm going to talk specifically about Medicaid, different Medicaid programs, and some changes and updates that are coming our way. So we can go to the next slide and I can talk about what Medicaid is. I'm sure everyone is familiar with that, but it is a health insurance program. It pays for medical and OPWDD services. It is a needs-based program, meaning you need to meet certain income and resource limits to qualify, but not all income counts. And even if you are above the typical Medicaid income limit, there are other programs that might apply, like the spend down, the Medicaid buy-in, or there's continuing Medicaid eligibility categories called DAC, PICL, and 1619B. But we're going to speak specifically to DAC and PICLs today. And I'll go over what those programs are. And coverage is automatic in New York State for people who are in receipt of SSI. We can go to the next slide. And so to start, there's two ways to really apply for Medicaid. You can apply at the local Department of Social Services, and in New York City, that is HRA, which stands for Human Resources Administration. You can apply through HRA if you want to enroll in OPWDD HCBS waiver, and if you need a disability determination or are certified disabled. You can also apply through the New York State of Health. It goes by different names. You might hear it as Marketplace, as the exchange, or some people refer to it as Obamacare, but it is another way to apply for Medicaid. And you can, when you apply through the New York State of Health, they look at whether you financially qualify for Medicaid. So what that means is that there would not be a spend down program or the MBI program, the Medicaid buy-in for working people with disabilities. but you can still apply through the New York State of Health if you are not looking for a spend down or an MBI. And if you're an adult over the age of 18, you can have Medicaid through the New York State of Health, through the marketplace, and still enroll in HCBS waiver. You can also transition that Medicaid to the local Department of Social Services, HRA, if you are looking for a better budgeting. For example, if you want to go into the Medicaid buy-in program. Children who are under the age of 18 who financially qualify can also apply for Medicaid through the New York State of Health and enroll in the waiver. However, we caution against that. In the event that a child no longer qualifies for Medicaid through the New York State of Health, they'll be transitioned into Child Health Plus, and that's an issue for if they're in receipt of OPWDD waiver services. If we can go over to the next slide. If you do have any questions at any point, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. I want to state that. So I mentioned that Medicaid is a needs-based program. There are income and resource limits. I'm going to go over that there. And the income limit has changed and the resource limit has changed dramatically starting this year. So starting January 1st, 2023, the income limit for Medicaid is $1,677, and that's countable income. And I'm going to go over what countable income is in a little bit. If a person resides in an individualized residential alternative, the income limit is $1,349. Family care is $1,180. And the important thing I want to point out is the income limit for independent living community is $1,677. It's actually higher than the individualized residential alternative rate. And it's really the first time that that's happened. And where that would really be an impact is if a person has excess income or is in a surplus program or spend down. And I'm going to go over what that is. But I just want to highlight that in situations where a person is in an IRA and they're budgeted at that IRA rate of $1,349 and they have excess income or a spend down, the most beneficial budgeting would appear to be an independent living budgeting. And that's something that can happen. So you can be in an IRA and then the beneficial budget is an independent living arrangement of $1,677. That could eliminate the spend down in that situation. So if a person is in an IRA and they have a spend down, that's something that we might want to look into to see if we can reduce it if they're budgeted at the independent living rate. So I don't see any questions about that. The resource limit also increased. It's currently $30,182 if a person has what I call regular Medicaid. So I'm going to go over countable income, what that means. So when we talk about the $1,677 community rate, that's countable. So they're looking at your countable income. And if it's under that rate, then you would qualify for Medicaid. And countable income is the total earned and unearned minus the income exemptions, which we're going to go over, and that is countable. So I'm going to go over it in an example for someone who would be what's called a spend down or excess income. So if we can go to the next slide. So Medicaid spend downs. In order to qualify, you would have to be certified blind or disabled and meet all Medicaid eligibility requirements other than the income test. So if your income is above the Medicaid income limit of $1,677, typically people wouldn't qualify unless they have a disability. And if they have a disability, then they can qualify for Medicaid through what's called the Medicaid spend down or excess income program or surplus program. Those terms are used interchangeably. And what the program does is they'll look at your income that puts you over the Medicaid income limit, and you'll basically can qualify for Medicaid if you spend down that excess income on medical services until your income meets the Medicaid income limit, and then you'll get active coverage. And the countable monthly income over the Medicaid income level is what's considered the excess income. So I'm going to go over an example. If we go to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So I'm calculating countable monthly income. So you're comparing the countable monthly income to applicable Medicaid income level based on the living arrangement. So that would be the community rate of 1,677, or if they're in an IRA, it would be the other rate that was listed. The excess income spend down is the amount of countable income that exceeds the Medicaid income level. So if we can go to the next slide. So I'm going to start with unearned income. So income is treated differently depending whether it's earned or unearned. And in the spend down example, I'm going to keep it to the unearned income. Because if you have earned income, then the Medicaid buy-in program would probably be more appropriate. And I am going to go over that separately. So to start, I'm going to go look at unearned income. And that would be Social Security. It could be a pension, retirement. And so in this example, Social Security disability insurance, the person's in receipt of $1,725 in Social Security disability. How Medicaid would calculate their income would be a $20 general income disregard, and the remainder is countable. So as you can see, with unearned income, there aren't many deductions. But in this scenario, the total countable monthly income is $1,705, and that's over the Medicaid income level of $1,677. So in this scenario, a person can qualify for active Medicaid coverage if they spend down that $28 that puts them over the Medicaid income level on qualified expenses like medical, on medical services. So I don't know if there's any questions about calculating the spend down. I don't see any. So I can move on. If you want to move on to the next slide. If a person,
Excuse me,
Yes?
I did raise my hand.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
That's okay. I just would like you to do me a big favor
Sure.
to clarify something else that's important. You're doing excellent. But a lot of times when our children are qualified, there is a difference of the social, first when you go on SSI, the person goes on their own Social Security number. But
Yes.
then if they collect or they become a DAC or a pickle,
Yes.
they change Social Security numbers. And the biggest problem is a lot of times when it used to be MSCs, as well as now care coordinators, they don't pay attention and see what is the change, and why is there a change. If you understand what I'm saying, can you also emphasize the fact that everyone has to check to see who's Social Security, because a child who's disabled before the age of 22, it's been in effect since 1939, they can collect under their parents' Social Security.
Yes.
But a lot of times people don't look at the Social Security. So I hope you can, because what you're doing is excellent. I'm just asking if you can really also emphasize, because that's
Yes.
what hurts a lot of the individuals.
So yeah, and you bring up a very good, important point, and something that I do want to kind of go over in more detail with when I talk about DACs and pickles, right? But to start, when we're talking about Social Security disability, one thing that we hope happens if you see a person's in receipt of disability benefits is to see, and they have a spend down, is to see whether they qualify for a continuing Medicaid eligibility category called a DAC or a pickle. And what those two categories kind of need in order to see if you qualify for them is if you were in receipt of SSI first, supplemental security income. So if a child was in receipt of SSI and then they lost that SSI because they became eligible for a disability benefit under a parent's claim, and that is called the DAC benefit, then they might potentially qualify for a continuing Medicaid eligibility category called DAC, which is different. So, and that's where it gets confusing, because you can have a DAC benefit, which is what's called a C benefit, where you'll see, like you mentioned, that switched from social. So the original claim, the SSI claim, is under your own Social Security number. And if you qualify for a DAC benefit for Social Security, that is under a parent's claim. And in that situation, if you lost the SSI because of that, then you might qualify for a DAC. And I'm going to go into more detail about a DAC for Medicaid budgeting purposes, which is separate because they have separate requirements. But in order to qualify for a DAC benefit in general, you have to have a disability that occurred prior to the age of 22. I don't know if that, if there's more details or if you want to like revisit in when we talk about DACs.
1 minute. I'm trying to unmute.
I think you're still muted.
I know. On. Come on, unmute me. Okay. Doesn't want to.
It's working.
You're good, Debbie. We could hear you now.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Just one click.
Okay, thank you. Irene,
Yep.
what you're saying is very well said, and I appreciate it
Mm.
because I've had to help too many families.
Yes.
And I'm one of the few, the parents, even though I'm the chair of the advisory, when I call into the Medicaid office, they will answer me
Yes.
because I've helped a lot of the families get back their money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, and the reason I want you, I'm not disagreeing anything. I'm saying you're doing excellent, but just please also emphasize that anyone who's working with our population, they have to check the social security numbers, and they don't.
Yeah.
And then the parents eventually, there's some parents who are still paying their children's services by credit card because they're
Yeah.
afraid they'll get people in trouble. But it's not appropriate.
Yeah, we have encountered it too. And it when a large part of what we look for and what we try to do is see if, especially if a person has a spend down, if they have Medicaid with the spend down, we do look to see, can we eliminate that spend down? Do they qualify for DAC for Medicaid budgeting purposes? Are they a pickle? And it does happen sometimes where people don't know. And Medicaid should be the one determining whether you are a DAC or a pickle when they process a Medicaid application. But as we all know, that doesn't always happen. And people operate under the assumption, well, Medicaid made this determination, so they must be right. And it's not always the case. And
True.
so we do, if we are here to help in any way that we can. So even if you're not sure, I'm going to go over the DAC and pickle criteria, but if you're not sure, reach out to your care manager. And if you're not getting care management services from Care Design, we're still available. So
one other thing I'd like to add, Irene,
Uh-huh.
and I have found this, and I've told everyone, don't go to the local outer offices. Go to the main one on Atlantic Avenue. They're the only ones that actually understand what you're talking about. Seriously. The main Medicaid office on Atlantic Avenue near Vanderbilt, because when I've had families go to their local office, like, all right, I live near Coney Island, they don't know what we're talking about. And they tell the families they don't qualify for anything, and that's not good.
No. We do have, there's a provider unit at HRA as well that we can reach out to for assistance. And yeah, so if any families are having difficulty, then there are other routes that we can take.
But thank you. You're doing great. Thank you so much.
No problem. So I'm going to go into the Medicaid buy-in. So I mentioned earned income. If you have earned income, the Medicaid buy-in for working people with disabilities might be a good program. And if you have Medicaid with the spend down and you're working, we really shouldn't be seeing that. We would hope not to see that. It does happen. But we are here to help if that is the case, because the Medicaid buy-in for working people with disabilities has a much higher income limit than what we call regular Medicaid. But in order to qualify, you have to be working. You have to be a New York State resident, age 16 to 64, certified disabled. And if you're in receipt of Social Security benefits, then you are considered certified disabled because Social Security has already made that determination, and Medicaid must accept it. If you are not in receipt of Social Security benefits, Medicaid can do their own certification, their own disability determination, and that would require medicals. And there's specific forms included in the medicals, but the care managers really should be assisting if you would be eligible for the Medicaid buy-in. And we're also here to assist. So under the Medicaid buy-in for working people with disabilities, there are income and resource limits, but like I said, the income limit is much higher. And you're not eligible for the Medicaid buy-in if you're living in an ICF, an intermediate care facility, or a developmental center, or if you're receiving SSI. If we can go to the next slide.
I don't know how we did next.
Can you pull up can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So the Medicaid, the MBI program, the income limit for an individual is $3,038. So that's much higher than the $1,677. And for a couple, it's $4,109. The resource limit is the same. It's $30,182 for individual, and for a couple, it's $40,821. And calculating the countable income for the MBI program, or in general, we're going to look at that. There's the total income, again, is the earned and unearned minus the income exemptions, and that is countable income. And the income exemptions for wages are different than the unearned income. So I am going to go over that. If we can go to the next slide. So in the example I'm going to give, I'm going to look at unearned and earned. So we're going to take a Social Security disability income of $1,500. We're going to do the general income disregard of $20, and the countable income for the unearned comes out to $1,480. For earned income, we're going to take the gross wages, and in this case, it's $2,000. We're going to do a $65 income disregard, earned income disregard, and then the remainder is divided by 2. And that is the countable earned income. So as you can see, there is a big difference. From the 2,000 gross wages, the countable income from that comes out to $967.50. So then you take the earned and the unearned and combine it, and that is the total countable monthly income in this case, and that is $2,447.50. So, and this person would qualify for Medicaid as a spend down had they not been in the Medicaid buy-in program, because that $2,447 is over the regular Medicaid income limit, but it is under the Medicaid income level for the Medicaid buy-in program. So in this case, they would qualify for Medicaid without a spend down through the Medicaid buy-in program. So it's a really great program. I want to add too, and then this is just an aside, if you're in receipt of Social Security disability benefits, it's not like SSI where your SSI payment depends on what your income is. So you have to report every month so that they can calculate how much SSI you're entitled to. So people tend to assume that with disability, with SSDI, you don't need to report your earnings. But you do. You still need to report your earnings, even if you're in receipt of SSDI. It doesn't change the amount for that year, but what it does is, in order to continue to qualify for Social Security disability insurance, you have to continue to meet Social Security's definition of a disability. And that definition is that you're not gainfully employed, basically. The Social Security disability, in order to qualify for that, you have to have a disabling condition that prevents you from being gainfully employed, and they look at a number to determine that. That number is referred to as SGA, Substantial Gainful Activity. And I believe for 2023, it is 1,470, if I'm not mistaken. So if your earnings are above that, then Social Security would say you're not technically disabled. But, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just to kind of make everyone aware that if you get extra assistance on the job, that does impact your earnings in a sense. So if you do encounter a situation where Social Security is saying that you're no longer disabled as per their rules, and you get extra assistance on the job, we really do try to be available to support people in that, because there are things that you can do. So I just wanted to throw that in there. We can go to the next slide. So we mentioned a little bit about DAC and pickles. And so the DAC term applies to that disability benefit that you're collecting under a parent's claim, but there's a special Medicaid budgeting called DAC as well. And so I'm going to go over what that is. For a DAC, it stands for Disabled Adult Child. It's a loss of SSI due to an initial or increased SSA benefit on a parent's claim. And for a PICL, it's a loss of SSI due to SSA COLA increases. So if you were collecting both SSI and SSDI, and due to the COLA increase, you became ineligible for that SSI, and you could potentially qualify for the special Medicaid budgeting called PICL. And it exempts all or part of the SSA income, and it can remove or reduce a spend down. So it's a very beneficial budgeting for many people, and it's one that it can potentially be underutilized. So we do want to make sure that if a person does qualify for this type of Medicaid budgeting, that it's applied. We can go to the next slide. So disabled adult child for Medicaid budgeting purposes. It is an individual who lost SSI benefits due to either the initial receipt of Social Security benefits on a parent's work record or a subsequent increase in Social Security benefits, and they may be able to retain their Medicaid coverage. In order to be eligible, though, you have to at least be 18 years and older, have been eligible for SSI based on blindness or disability, have become blind or disabled prior to the age of 22. And we mentioned before, just by receiving that DAC benefit, it's already been established that your disability occurred prior to the age of 22, because that's how you qualify for a DAC benefit, for Social Security disability benefit under a parent's claim. So it's in here, but it's kind of by default that you already meet that by collecting that disability benefit. And you had to have lost SSI on or after July 1st, 1987 due to an initial entitlement or to an increase in SSA disabled adult child benefits. And you have to, and this is the big part, you have to continue to meet all other SSI eligibility requirements, and specifically the resource requirement. SSI has a resource, in order to qualify for SSI, you have to meet income and resource limits. And the resource limit for SSI is only $2,000. And that's something that people tend to not realize. So if your income, if your resources, how much money you have in the bank or your total assets, is over $2,000, then you would still receive that disability benefit, that DAC disability benefit, but you wouldn't qualify for the continuing Medicaid eligibility category of DAC. And so that's a big one. And you have to live in an IRA, community residence, family care, or at home. So if you're in an ICF, it wouldn't apply, or in a nursing facility. See, I don't see any questions on DAC. So if there aren't any, I can move on. We can go to the next slide and talk about the PICL amendment. So the PICL amendment allows an individual to continue to receive Medicaid if they lost SSI due to a Social Security cost of living adjustment, a COLA adjustment. For continuing Medicaid eligibility under the PICL amendment, the person must meet the following criteria. At any time after April 1977, the individual was entitled to both SSI and Social Security retirement, survivors, or disability, the Title II benefit. SSDI retirement and survivors benefits are Title II benefits. And so to qualify for the PICL after 1977, you have to have been in receipt of SSI and a Title II benefit at the same time, and then subsequently became ineligible for SSI due to the cost of living adjustment. And the individual is currently eligible for and continuing to receive those Title II benefits. And the individual would be eligible for SSI if the COLA is received since the last month that they received both Title II and SSI benefits were disregarded. And they must live in an IRA, community residence, family care, or at home. And to the point prior, so what that means basically is your resources have to continue to meet the SSI resource limit of $2,000, like the DAC. Are there any questions about the PICL amendment? It doesn't come up that often, but there are a few people who should be budgeted as pickles.
Eileen, this is Chris.
Okay, can we go
you
to the next
explain what the pickle
Yes.
means, please?
Yes.
Can you explain
The
what
pickle,
you
I'm
mean
sorry?
about pickle? Because some people might look, I'm looking at some people and they're looking like they're thinking it's food.
I know. So it's called the Pickle Amendment because of the person that introduced it, the congressperson that it's named after. Yes, it's not because of the pickle that we eat. It's because of a congressman named Pickle.
And who is the
And
Congress
it's
for that?
basically who I'm not sure. I don't know what Mr. Pickle.
I was going to say it's not kosher. I'm just joking. I got to wake up everyone today with a pickle moment here. Because it's green.
It is very fun to say it too.
But it's funny because it's green. But the question is it
Yes.
sweet, sour, or garlicky?
It could be any and all of the above, as long as the resources are at 2,000 or below. Can we move on? You want to move on to the next slide? So I'm going to go over Medicaid updates. These are directly from HRA. The big one is the recertifications are starting again. All active Medicaid only cases with authorization end dates of March 31st, 2020 through May 31st, 2023 will continue to be systematically extended for 12 months, and individuals will not be required to renew their Medicaid eligibility during the emergency period. Medicaid cases with authorization ending June 30th, 2023 or later must renew. And those renewal packets went out in March. So if a person's renewal date is June 30th, 2023, those renewal forms would have needed to be returned by today. The due dates for June renewals is May 10th. And for July renewals, it would be June 10th. And so that's a big one. The Medicaid renewals are resuming. There are no more automatic extensions after May. And the renewal packets. So if you have a care manager, the big thing that we tell people is to confirm both the addresses at Medicaid, that Medicaid has the correct address. Medicaid mail will not be forwarded. It'll be returned to Medicaid, and they could potentially close a person's Medicaid case because they're unable to confirm where the person resides if the mail is returned to them. So the big thing that we say is check the address on file at Medicaid, especially if you've moved during COVID. So that is a big one. And the renewal packets for June should have been received by today. And care managers should be able to confirm the renewal date, the recertification date. If you do have any questions about that, your care managers should be able to assist.
Eileen, this is Chris. There is one thing we need to be alert on. We're receiving problems with the mail. As you may have heard, that mail's been stolen, even during tax season. We are reminding everyone, and this is going to be my report later. I'm glad you're seeing it now. To please everyone, I know Deborah mentioned earlier Atlantic Avenue. It'd be better if you bring it in person. And any case managers who are here, please, make it easier for them. Make sure before you send it out, make a copy of it. So therefore, nothing gets lost. And it doesn't matter how you mail it. It doesn't matter. It still needs to be, it will be better if we can, you guys please do it, regular handed to the.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up too, because we constantly kind of get questions about, can you get me a blank renewal form? And there isn't really a blank renewal form that we could give out. They're in place. The renewal forms that Medicaid mails out are barcoded, and includes case information on it. And so we don't have a blank renewal form that we would be able to kind of distribute because of that. But what we do give out in place of that is a Medicaid application. If you have a Medicaid case, you did not receive the renewal, you want to mail it in, you can use a Medicaid application in place of it. But there's also another update that I wanted to share. And I know that there's technical issues right now. It's on the next slide.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Anyone?
Hi, this
Eileen,
is
you there?
Deborah. Hi, this is Deborah Gray. I have an update for you. You asked about who Pickle was named after.
Yes.
I got him. His name
Okay.
was Jake Pickle. Seriously, he was a U.S. representative of the 10th District of Texas between 1963 and his retirement in 1995. So he was actually, that's his name. That's why you're right, they named it after that's why it was named the Pickle Amendment, because it was named after the former Congressman Jake Pickle. And you can pull it up on the web. I went through Google and I got it. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I thought
No
I
worries. No,
want you to get
that
that
was
to you
great.
guys.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Please go
So
on.
if you
I'm
wanna-
muted.
I'm sorry.
I got your laugh. I know it. But you were right. It's named after Jake Pickle.
Jake Pickle.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
And it started in Texas, unusually.
Oh,
And it's really intense. It's more intense than people realize.
Mm.
That's why let me just take the simple part, because I could have been still reading for another 2 hours on this amendment. But it is named after former Congressman Jake Pickle.
Jake Pickle.
And Pickle people, it's sometimes called Pickle people.
Pickle people.
It's for most of the people use to receive both SSA, Social Security, and SSI, but they're now ineligible for SSI because their income exceeds the SSI limit. So he was the congressman who put it through to make sure that when parents who had children with late change of life babies, as we call, whose children had developmental disability but could not get Medicaid or even OPWDD services, that's because of Congressman Jake Pickle.
Yeah.
All right, so we now know where it comes from.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so another big change I wanted to point out. So Medicaid renewals are starting, but there is some good news. Hopefully everyone's familiar with Access HRA. It's an online and I think they also have an app where you can apply for HRA benefits like cash assistance, SNAP benefits. And now if you have an Access HRA account and are a Medicaid only consumer, you can submit your renewal online. And that's as of April 4th, 2023.
Good.
And so I put the link in there. I don't know if we can share it out too. But that
Eileen,
is. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Eileen, that one thing. We definitely work with Jennifer Schultz, so she has updated us. And we also have that link could also be the Fair as well for the low income family as well.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Just to give you a little power boost. That anyone who's interested for the Fair, that's where the link you should be going on. I hope that helped you, Eileen.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Yes. And then the last slide I have is, it may not impact everyone, but I just wanted to throw it in there because it potentially might. And it's the last slide. And so this is the prescription drug benefit. If a person has a mainstream managed care plan, a HARP, HIV, SNP plans, there's going to be a change there's a change that happened effective April 1st, in that the prescription drug benefit is now going to be administered through NYRX.
Yes,
And so they're not going to be through the plan. But pharmacies should have been updated, and they will receive a denial message directing them to bill NYRX when applicable. So I just wanted to put that in there because it might come up if anyone's in a mainstream managed care plan. So that's pretty much the updates and Medicaid presentation. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Irene. This was really great.
Mhm.
I'm looking to the chat. I don't see any questions in the chat. Make sure I go to it.
Rose, yeah, you can
I'm
check all
having a little technical.
posts as well.
Yes, I'm checking. Hold on.
I tried putting in the chat about who the pickle amendment was named after, but it's not letting me.
Oh,
As I told you guys before, it's as they're doing some ring. I don't know what they're doing outside, but I really hate when they do Wi-Fi work, and I really wish they stopped touching things. But no, Maricocha, it'd be better if you put that. We'll put that into the website so people want to know it will be available. But Eileen, there is a question. I know someone's going to ask me this question before anything.
Okay.
Can we put your PowerPoint onto our website? It will be on a PDF form, transform.
I don't think that would be an issue. Can I get clarification from our
Well, I'm
team?
not putting on it right now. I'm just going to let you know. I don't update the website until the weekend. So
Okay.
you let
can
me know
definitely-
if it's yes or no.
Definitely. I'll definitely get an answer to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because therefore, that if anyone missed the meeting, they can look at it and go, oh, on that. Does anyone have any questions for Eileen? I know Rose already said thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat. Irene, thank you so much. I think you've done a fantastic job of
Thank you
explaining.
so much.
I wish there were more people, more families in particular, on the call to have a better understanding of Medicaid. And I believe we are expecting some changes. I believe is it next month that everyone will have to go back and for recertification for Medicaid, and hopefully family members are aware and are following through on this, changes coming up. I know the care managers are doing an amazing job in reaching out to family members and sending out letters. There's been a few committees discussing it. So hopefully, our parents kind of get that information.
Yes, definitely. And we're here as a support as well. So hopefully we'll have people reaching out and we can help any way that we can.
Great. Thank you.
This is Deborah. I just wanted to let you know that the changes to the Medicaid now for
Mhm.
medication is much better now, because if most of the children who have they have, since they were on straight Medicaid, they're able to stay at the pharmacy they like. But
Yeah.
many of the parents had to be forced into a managed care. So we were forced out of certain pharmacies. But now, because they changed it, you now can go back to the pharmacies you are more comfortable with.
Yes.
So that was a more positive change. So
Definitely.
I just want to let you know, because that was making me very happy, because now I don't have to go too far anymore for medicine.
That's
But
good.
it is an excellent thing. But also the part where I appreciate how you explained it, that was one of the best presentations. You remind me of the late Charlie Hope, who trained me, as well as Maria Ortiz Casada from Medicaid. She trained me also.
Thank
And
you for that.
Yes, and Milton Ertfarb, that was Medicaid, because I used to do all the trainings the MSCs did, because I said, well, and they told me I was allowed to, as a parent, I was allowed.
Mm.
So I took advantage. So I want to thank you, because yours was a very clear, precise. There's one thing I just want to add. Parents have to be there are certain parents, they used to give me a hard time, but they never told me or gave me the correct amount, that when their child became a DAC, which parent they were collecting under. So a couple of parents had a problem where they couldn't get their Part A and B paid by New York State for Medicare. And the problem and I hope you can add that in, that since a child does collect Part A and B Medicare under their parent, it goes by the higher income, not the lower.
Yeah.
And it will affect you very badly if you're not truthful to the advocates.
Mm.
Because it's not our fault because they told me, and they told these two parents, well, you're lucky Ms. Greif was able to advocate for you, because instead of because you can sometimes pay up to $500. And this was when before COVID, when we were still doing family support fairs in person.
Mhm.
And she walked through the budget and said to them that Miss Greif was able to get you down to $121.
Wow.
So we need to remind the families they got to be very truthful,
Yeah.
because Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, trust me, their computers and HRA, they're all attached and talking to each other,
Yeah.
and they do catch it.
Yes.
So please don't give it a hard time to an advocate. And I'm like you too, should not be punished if you don't have the right amount. And
Uh-huh.
parents have to let you know when they either either the parent, the mother or the father, who became disabled, or did they retire or sadly die, because
Mhm.
that matters. And a lot of times they don't. So then we suffer. And that's the biggest problem. I think I see Doris Kahn has her hand raised. So Christopher, can you unmute her and mute me so there's no backbeat? Thank you.
Okay, before Dolores Combs goes on, you gotta, guys. I don't control. I only can mute your microphone. So
That's
please,
all I asked you to do.
okay.
I
But
asked
no,
you.
because somebody asked me a question on the chat on a private section. Guys, I'm gonna remind everyone. I don't control microphones. I can only mute you. You have to unmute yourselves, like everyone does. Dolores Kahn has her hand raised.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Irene, for your very informative presentation. I just want to confirm something. I was listening that I got this straight. So if someone has SSI and Medicaid, but for some reason they lost their SSI benefits now, for some reason, they can still have Medicaid. I just want to confirm that's what you said, and
Absolutely.
I understood that.
Yes. And yeah, so
Okay.
because both SSI and Medicaid are needs-based programs, and they now have different income limits and resource limits. So you can lose your SSI for a number of reasons, but if you lose your SSI because your resources are $5,000, that puts you over the resource
I
limit
see.
for SSI, but it's under the resource limit for Medicaid. So
Oh, okay, let me put that down.
and then there's other, if you lose your SSI because of a disability benefit, a DAC benefit in particular, a Social Security disability benefit under a parent's claim, then you can qualify potentially for that Medicaid, the continuing Medicaid eligibility category of DAC. Or if you lose SSI because of a COLA increase, then you could potentially qualify for the pickle. So we always take a look at why did the SSI stop,
Right,
and depending on the
I
reason,
hear you.
yeah.
But if they qualify, they can still continue their Medicaid.
Yes,
If they're under the limit for Medicaid.
yes, yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
no problem.
Does anyone
I don't
else
know if
have
there's
any
any other-
questions? No? All right. Sounds like we can move on to the next phase of our meeting. Thanks again, Irene, for the presentation.
Anytime.
It's Rose. It's actually your turn first to do your report, and then it's Debbie.
Okay. I don't have much to report. Just to let everyone know, we continue to meet every second Wednesday of the month. I'm not sure. I don't have a speaker yet for next month, so that's to be determined. And that's pretty much it for me.
Oh, thank you, Rose. This is Debbie. Okay, I have a big report, but I'm going to condense and make it easier. First of all, as you know, the budget was passed. Okay, it didn't go as great as we had hoped for, because we would have liked to hire COLA for our direct care professionals. We still will be advocating. Please, everybody, don't give up hope. Just because it didn't completely pass what we want, we still have a few months and just keep advocating to all your local elected officials. And I'm also going to say, talk to your local city council members, because you see, through the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, they can fund certain programs of OPWDD that may be falling short. So we can still try to advocate there. Plus, many of them share the office with their state assembly and or state senate, and as well as Congress. As you know, we have to advocate very strongly, and now we must, because we may have to make sure that the debt ceiling is accepted, because it will affect our Medicaid and will affect everybody who gets SSI, SSDR, Social Security benefits. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen. None of us are affected for any. And that includes also our soldiers and stuff. Many are parents of children with developmental disabilities who need the help too. Now, I also want to update you quickly with the statewide. We have 2 new chairs. One is Gail Paligia, Gail Pardo, and the other one is Kathy Nowak. Former chair Chris P. had to decide to step down. He's still on the council. We are working together to make sure that the family support programs are going to be funded and RFPs. So that is the that will be for us. And we will be having our meeting in the next, 2 weeks, I believe. And that's the joint meeting. The next statewide.
The statewide meeting is June 21st.
Thank you. The next DD Council meeting is what? It's May.
I will discuss that in my report. I have it. Focus on your report.
All right. The other thing that's very, very important, I want everybody to know. The previous statewide meeting was supposed to be public. There were issues about they couldn't find the appropriate sites. They needed public sites up in Albany. They had a hard time getting it. So the meeting was then, it went into only executive session. That meant that only members of the statewide, myself and my other 18 counterparts, were discussing. So I apologize, but as I said, I don't chair. I am not in charge. I want you to know that at the current time, our commissioner, she is on maternity leave. So right now, Alexis and Abibar have been working, running the OPWDD. Nick Hobson is our statewide family support coordinator. But we are making sure that the next meeting, which is supposed to be June 21st, will be held with the public. We want to make sure there will be 3 or 4 different, before I give you any of where it's supposed to be, I want to confirm it to make sure, because I want you to know all of our members were very upset. We were ready to go for a full meeting and to work together to make sure that the public could speak. We are still advocating to make sure that due to open sunshine laws, we do want the public during public session to be able to speak for 2 to 3 minutes of issues that have been coming up. If you have any problems or issues, you can always contact myself through the advisory councils, the phone numbers, or really the best part, contact me through email and on the website. We will get back to you as soon as we can if we can answer it. Please, everybody, remember that we are parent volunteers, and we thank also Mrs. Menino, who does man the phone. She gives us the numbers. We do call back, but if you don't give us a clear, slow message and we can't get the number, I apologize, but we can't return your call. So we are now if anyone has any questions for me, go ask it now. Okay. Chris, your turn.
Before we do that, does anyone have any questions for Rose or any ideas you guys want a speaker? Because, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I just got a message from Joyce. She did ask this one question. It'll be, and this is for the record, she might forget, but I do want to remind everyone, as Deborah is the co-chair for parent and Rose is the provider, we do like to hear some of your ideas. What speakers do we want to hear? But to be honest with you, we have not heard from anyone. And I'm going to say everyone. That's parents and agencies. So we're asking you all, and this is going to be mentioned at the general meeting as well. We're asking, do you want to have a speakers who you think is very important. Medicaid is important. It was nice to see 10 people attended, but as I remind you all, it is not that hard to share the information around to your families and agencies. So I am making this very clear right now. Do you guys have any ideas do you want as a speaker for if there is a next month meeting and the near future? So please, let's make this very clear because we all hear the complaints, but at the same time, attendants must be attending to these meetings as well.
I
One more
agree.
time. Does anyone else have a question, what I just said, plus Rose's comment and Deborah's comment? Rose, do you have anything you want to add? Oh, Debbie?
I do.
Can-
Uh,
Oh, go ahead.
first of all, you want to go first, Rose? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add that I know again this meeting we used to have this for the when we used to have MSCs, and I think since we changed this over, we it's been a little bit challenging getting providers to participate. And I know we talked about it in the larger DD Council meeting, so people are aware that this committee is around, and family members, I'm assuming, are aware. And I'm not sure how to further communicate with providers and family members. So if you guys have any ideas how I can, do some more outreach and to get people more involved in sharing this information, please let us know. We want to bring topics, to you all that is of interest to you and that is of a need for the agencies and the care managers and the provider, not just trying to have this meeting and bring topics just to bring topics, but things that are beneficial to each one of you that is on the call. So please, again, I said it at the beginning of the call, if you know of anyone or any other agencies that have a lot of questions, sometimes tell them to come to this meeting. We meet every second Wednesday of the month, and we're happy to continue to have these dialogues as people are interested. If we don't have any interest, then we may have to think of something different to do, but we just need everyone participation going forward.
And this is Deborah. I agree completely 100% with Rose Saw. I get so many parents complain. My care coordinator is not doing anything. I can't reach this, that. Well, you know what? I have a perfect a topic I would like to see next month. How to effectively complain and the right way to complain. So if you're not getting the right services, or why aren't you getting the right services? So Rose and I will meet and discuss this, because I think this would be a big help, because all we get is parents telling me, and they text me, they call me, I don't know what to do. Well, you know what? First thing I will say to them, and no, I am not putting any workers down. Please understand this. I say to them, did you put it in writing? Did you email your care coordinator? Did you speak to their supervisor? By not just calling, by email. And I tell you, I'm still scratching. I don't understand. I mean, I know that when if I have services for my child and things aren't working correctly, that may seem wrong, I put it in writing so that even though now, thank God, I happen to like better that we can do it by email, because it saves me a lot of time and stress, and I know right away if you've gotten it. So maybe we should also help families to learn how to effectively communicate or find out if it's working or not, the service, where to complain, how to complain. So if you even ask, like I'll ask everyone from Care Design, I'll ask from Tri-County and ACA. We really need to have families understanding how to make, if you're having issues or not getting the services that you feel your child needs, or also, let's turn it on to the care coordinators. How many times have you tried to contact the parents and you can't get through to them, and you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to help them? So and if anybody wants to speak to help us do this meeting or this training, please let us know. It'd be a big help.
Also,
Okay.
thank you, Debbie. Before we move forward, I just want to thank everyone that is on the call, because we do have those of you who are on the call that, always there, always been coming on this call. So we don't want to feel like we're penalizing you guys who are on the call. We just wanted to kind of push the word push it forward so we have more people engaged in this conversation. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks, everyone.
You're
Chris, I
welcome.
guess you're next.
And I thank and I agree
Yeah,
with,
but actually, I will
I
say
agree.
this.
Thank you,
Over you,
everyone, too, for being here. What, Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to say this. As vice chair of the DD Council that's doing this for a while, and I have to say that this is, I would say thanks to both co-chairs, because as you see, folks, you see a provider, you see a parent. They're here to work together. We need to remember that. We're in Brooklyn. It doesn't matter if they're from another borough, another county. They're welcome. It's like the Italians says, it's like your family, but we got to make sure we work together and get them the right facts. And this is not the only committees having, this committee does have a good attendance numbers, but the transition committee is also having a minor issues. And it would be nice to see everyone to share. I can do, but I need everyone else. Your eyes, your ears are the strongest tools also. We have to work together. And I'm going to move on to, speaking of that, the news update, because it does relate from last week's meeting that Deborah and I did together with the borough president. But I do want to remind everyone, as Deborah mentioned, there's a phone number. During the hours of 9:30 to 5:30, we will return your calls but if you're going to leave a voice message saying gumble, lumble, jumbo, we do not understand you. So, and as Deborah realizing she did not mute herself because it's causing an echo, like to remind that it is very important that when you're going to leave a voice message, please clearly say your phone number as well as the information. But also remember, we have a website that does get updated every week with the service openings, trainings and events, and does make sure to let everyone know what information is out there. So one way is fine, you can call, email, or visit the website. The website's not going anywhere, so let's just say thank God. Speaking of transition, they're meeting next Thursday, 10 a.m. I hope to see everyone to please attend that meeting. And they've been doing very well. Debbie and I have attended that meeting, and I'm very impressed when I'm seeing this. It's not like the transition meeting in the past, and I'm going to say the word the past, not saying names because it's not right, but it's something to know. And you know what? We have students who are graduating. They need to know where they can go. As Deborah said, how can they complain? That's something we need to see, everyone. As a reminder to all, our joint meeting is May 24th. And as I remind everyone earlier, when you're coming on to any meetings, it doesn't make a difference with Ring Central or Zoom or WebEx. Always remember, put your name, the meeting ID number, then the password. But please slow down. You go too fast, you can mess up your system. Always make sure when you go into any meetings, check your firewalls, which I just did again, like I'm going to do later, to make sure things are clean and healthy. So let's make that clear. As a reminder, these are the next two meetings in the month of May. Now, getting back from last week, as I did put this in, and it's actually on our website, we did, thanks to a lot of the families and agencies here who put their comments in, the borough president's been asking for people's opinions, and this is related for accessibility, housing, health, how to keep our borough more healthier, safe. Those questions, you can put it into that survey, which is right there, and you can put whatever you want in. Then if you're interested, you can attend the town hall meeting at Borough Hall from 6 to 8 at Brooklyn Borough Hall, and not a problem. There should be no problem getting in and getting all the information so the borough president knows who we all are. And it's starting to work right now because now they know not just who Debbie is, but they also know who both councils are in the borough of Brooklyn. So this is a good sign to see. I hope to see everyone can attend. Bring your information with you. Bring your business cards. Bring your tools and weaponry. All right? It's not that hard to get to the Borough Hall. It's downtown Brooklyn. Yes, there are accessible train stations there. And if you're using Accessorize, it's 209 Joralemon Street, the corner of Court Street. It's not that hard to find. All right. And just to remind you, now let's also remind our care managers and everyone in here. As you see on this list here is the other stations of customer service centers. So say like it's a Rose's Metro card was damaged. She doesn't have to go to 2 Stone Street. She can go to St. George Station or Whitecroft, or she can go to Atlantic Parkway Center. Now, Coney Island still 11 is the main one for Brooklyn. In Queens, soon we'll be opening up a main one for you guys soon, and I think it's in Jamaica because that's try to spread it out because you don't want it too close to Brooklyn, but you also don't want it too far. So it's in an easy access zone. The stations that you see on the list on the bottom, those will have no dates yet when they're going to open. When they do, we will let you guys know. But in the meantime, these customer centers are open 24/7. You will see a staff there, and I know they're there because I even see them even at night. So get a chance. The list you see on the upper left are there. And to remind everyone in Brooklyn, which we're in Brooklyn, tonight is, as you know, we have 2 more pop-up sessions. One will be the bus redesign. The redesign is still on effect. We ask you to please put your comments in. I have attended every one of them except the one on the G train. I will not be there tonight, but I will be at Broadway Junction on the street level. So the street level one will be from 3 to 7. The one that's going to be on the street level, constant, it will be on 3 to 6, which you all know when Rose and Ernie McNutt were doing the MSC there. You know that was another way of getting into the building. As a remind you all, this is another way of putting your comments in. You can visit the MyMTA/Brooklyn Bus Network redesign, which is already automatically on the website, and you can put any comments you want about the Brooklyn buses and the border of the Queens buses that link to Brooklyn. Now, I do not have information about Queens at this time, so please do not ask me that question because I have no comment. And speaking of that, and the good note is we have to worry about fare hikes at this time. That's fair. But I am very going to remind all our agencies here, and this is also for everyone. Please, guys, set up your routine for Omni presentations to the MTA. I know some agencies have done it. I thank them. But I will remind you all that it's important that we remind all individuals, including the ones who are seniors, to make sure they have to choose of the card or the app. The choice is yours if the price is right. This is the email. You can email to the MTA Accessibility, and they will make sure to contact you back, or if you're going to do it in person or virtual. You can always send a letter to them to 2 Broadway, New York, 1004, and you can have attention to disabilities, system-wide accessibility, and MTA government as well. And I'll just remind everyone, any information you put on today on the chat, I will be making sure it's up to date onto our website. So therefore, does anyone else have any questions? Rose, do you have a question?
No questions, but I did have a comment. ACA is going to be, I thought they were going to be on the call today. I don't think there's anyone here from ACA today. They're going to be having
Say that again?
a resource. Can you guys hear
So
me?
I can hear you. I just didn't understand what the wording you said.
ACA is going to be having a resource fair at Brooklyn College. I believe it's June 14th. Hopefully they're on our call next month to provide more information, or I'm probably going to reach out to them to get more information, and I'll forward it to Chris to put on the website.
Are you saying ACS, Cliff Davies event?
ACA, Advanced Care Alliance.
Oh, okay, because I'm making sure what
They didn't even invite any of us.
Well, they are having a resource fair at Brooklyn College. I believe it's June 14. I will get the information and pass it on to you guys so you can put on the website.
Okay, thank
June 14th.
you.
Boy, they put it on the middle of during school graduation. That's going to be an issue. Well, at this time also, thank you, Rose. But does anyone else have any questions?
Appreciate that, Rose.
Okay, since no one else has any questions, I do want to remind everyone, our website does have all our meeting dates and the links. But I am going to remind you, we also, when you email the advisory email, you do see those meeting schedules as well. Right now, I'm going to ask announcements. I heard that, and I'll be with you in just a minute. Okay.
Doris has us up. Go ahead, Doris.
Thank you. You guys can say the names because right now I'm because it'd be Rose. Tell me who's first,
Go ahead, Doris. You've been unmuted. Go ahead.
and you.
Hi, everyone. The weather is getting nicer, and I just want to remind, my name is Doris Kahn. I'm Outreach Coordinator for New York State Institute on Disability. One of the services we provide is we provide tickets to venues in the city to families that live in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. These tickets can be obtained by calling Sarah Alton at 718-494-6457, or you can email her salton@nicidinc.org. We also provide transportation to these services. So if you get your tickets, then you make an appointment with our transportation coordinator, and you and your family can have round trip transportation to these venues. For transportation, you would contact John O'Grady at 917-747-9424 or JOGRADY@nicidinc.org. That's my update for today. And I urge everyone to take advantage of these tickets now that the weather's nice. And since Corona, they opened up many more venues for in-person visits. So I hope the families will take advantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, Dolores. Rose and Debbie, can you guys do the hand raise? Because I have to do a speaking in just a second at another meeting.
No problem.
I believe Cindy is
Right.
next.
Oh, hi, everyone. This is Sandy Naper from ADAPT Community Network, and I have some great information. We're having a webinar tomorrow, May 11, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and it's going to be about assistive technology. We're going to be having the assistive technology team from the New York City Department of Education and Peter Pederossi from ADAPT TechWorks speaking about how assistive technology can make students successful in school. So that will be tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, May 24th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., we're having Autism and Posture. Dr. Dahlia Zwick, a physical therapist, will be our speaker. And then on May 18th, we're having research on family stressors from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's going to be research on family stressors, what supports and resources can help. Dr. Deanna Swain, clinical psychologist and assistant professor in developmental pediatrics at the University of Colorado, will be our speaker. All of these webinars are free. All of them will be translated into Spanish and Mandarin, and we do request that you register. So please register at Family Connect at adaptcommunitynetwork.org or call us at 718-436-7979, extension 704. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy. Anybody else? Marilyn Sanchez from Care Design. Do you have any announcements you want to make?
Hi, good morning, everyone. No, I don't have any other new announcements. Thank you, Irene. As always, we're very well supported with all of her knowledge when it comes to Medicaid. And that's it. But I didn't have any new announcements to add.
No, thank you. But glad to hear from you. And I also want to thank Irene. I really enjoyed your presentation. It was excellent. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Appreciate it very much. So then, does anybody else have any other announcements? Well, let me put this way. Please let Rose and I know, because I think maybe we should also do this kind of work. Maybe we should do. It's not that I want from both sides. I want to know how to help our families learn how to effectively communicate with their care managers. So if anyone's interested, please let myself and Rose know. Rose, if we don't have anyone else to speak, we can just say
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being on the call. Thanks again, Irene, for your presentation. It was very informative. We appreciate you. Again, if you guys have any thoughts or ideas, please feel free to reach out to us with any topics. So if we don't get any topics from you all and I cannot get a speaker, I'm not sure if we're going to be meeting next month, but we will let you know if we are meeting next month or not.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we have the joint meeting in 2 weeks.
All right, we're giving you back almost half an hour to your time. So I know we all have a lot
That's
to do.
right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy your week. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Come on.
So yes, Deb.
Yes, I hear you. I'm here still.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know our presentation. The presentation was, it went well. So I'm just hoping that.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we can get, we'll see how it goes. I know the meeting is usually well attended. That's not the issue. I just want, it's such a good information. I just want more people to be able to have access to it and, to attend this meeting so we can continue to provide them with the support. So I will check to see if anyone reach out for next month so we can know what the topic is going to be for next month. I mean, and if not, and then we're just, going to have to either skip next month and then, we'll see what the rest of the months look
I
like.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, what gets me is that they complain when we don't invite them and then they ignore us. And look at ACA. Did they once invite any of the advisory councils or the DD council? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I'm not sure if again, like the care coordination seems to be running things a little bit differently than than when the MSC was under the providers. I'm not sure if they're aware.
True.
I'll invite Crystal. Like I said, if we meet next month, I don't know if we are meeting next month yet. And we might meet before her meeting just to kind of like let her know. I may shoot her an email, say to invite the DD Council. I know I'm going to be getting a table for my program, so I will be there as well. So yeah, that's pretty much waiting and see.
Well, guess what? If they don't invite the advisory council as well as the DD council, I'll make a formal complaint. Plus, also, there's the Bronx Fair that's on May 18th, and they're going to be there. So I'm going to ask them, and I'll make sure to pull someone from OPWDD over there. That's right,
Yeah.
seriously, because that's not appropriate. If I did that, if we reversed and did that to them, what would they do to me?
Yeah.
You know how I get attacked if I dare to say anything different. Oh my God,
Yeah.
who does she think she is?
Yeah, they may say they may send an email later on. I know I was I was aware of it because we're going to have a table, and I did ask them, so that's how I know of it coming up. But it's still early in the month, so they might be reaching out, very soon.
Oh yeah, well, I figured they'd only can handle a resource fair.
Yeah.
Because but they have been getting themselves in a lot of trouble also, not just in Brooklyn, but other boroughs.
Okay.
And as well as Tri-County, probably even Care Design, but I very rarely hear anything issue with Care Design. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
Well, only because I think because it was started by Jim Moran, who understands OPWDD inside out, which makes a complete difference.
Yeah.
By the way, okay, in reference to the elections, the parent that comes from, I forgot her name, she's running also for vice chair, parent vice chair. So I may run for treasurer instead.
Okay.
So this way it doesn't look like I have too many things done, because I've already, every year when I was doing the family support fair and I handled the funding, I used to hand Joe all these checks, but they were already written in and typed in and everything. So I know how to do the spreadsheets
Okay.
and everything. Because truthfully, with Joyce retires, we're going to have an issue.
Okay. Okay.
So you definitely don't want to run for provider chair, do you?
No, I don't want, what, I would love to, but I just have so much on my plate. I don't want to commit and not able to, help my end of the bargain. You know what I mean? So I just have a lot
Oh, I
going on
understand.
right now.
I
Yeah, I have a
understand.
lot
It's
of new
just,
programs. Because I don't just have OPWDD. I have
I
DOHMH. I
know.
have OMH programs. So it's like, yeah,
Oh, I
it's a
know.
lot.
I know. I know about all your programs that are not with OPWDD
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes your programs come into my community board area and also 13. And I always, they'll ask me, are they going to say, oh yeah, don't worry, they really know their stuff.
Yeah.
So, I want you to know, I've always said, no, this staff knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they're glad to hear that because I've had issues where people don't know what's going on. And I get the call like, oh, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And I'm going, they know what they're doing. Oh, her name is Rochelle. She's on the, her child gets services through HeartShare and she's on the board for the care design. If I hadn't broke my foot and I had to take breaks from things because of the concussion, Chris would have already been with care design.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because Jim Moran he wanted me to be on all these different committees, but when you break your foot and concussion,
Yeah.
we have to
Of
watch.
course.
But now I got good news. My doctor says I'm 99.75% back because I don't, he noticed that I'm thinking better and more cognitive because I followed his instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Rest the brain. He said, because what you're used to doing, you can do it on automatic pilot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I did. Yeah, and the only reason I'm asking is only because I know you're capable of doing things, but I realize how busy you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just don't want you to think we're not.
No, I know
but,
that. I know.
Yeah, and I know that you and I have each other's back. In reference with these meetings, you know what? They're like overwhelmed, but they also think, well, my own agency just does the trainings, and they don't want to see. That's like
Deb, hold on a second. I'm getting a call.
Well,
I'm
how about I let you go?
okay.
Because I know you're really
All
busy
right.
there.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
You're welcome. And we'll make sure to save this. Christopher will be saving it, but not the part where we were speaking.
No problem. Have a good one.
All right.
Okay.
You
All right.
too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.